Objects have always been important to me. I never really knew why. I just kept everything. Collected plants, leaves, seashells, toys, Sylvanian families. I could never throw anything away, especially not the 70s Pippa dolls that my mum used to collect for my sister and I. Now I even have quite a few collections that weren't mine, like my dad's toy cars, now a part of me and my collections. Collecting things from travelling around the world, this installation just symbolises some of those things, almost like a map of my life and experiences. Pan, my mum's statue right in the middle, that was always in the garden while I played there, reminding me of simpler, easier days as a child. But some of these objects also symbolise the darkness in my life that I've experienced recently after losing my father, learning more about life's struggles, mental illness, and dealing with my own pain and grief. Each object has a memory and a story, so this installation symbolises some of those important moments and lessons in my life. They help to illustrate my story. This is my room. This is all my stuff. Not all my stuff, only some of it. Possessions that people have, the things they collect over time. Those things reflect their personality and tell stories about their past and who they are as a person. Objects are almost like extensions of self, but also collecting can be a form of self-expression. If you're collecting all these things to keep in your eye line, I think they inspire you on different levels. That's what's fascinating to me, that these objects, they can hold so many memories and feelings just in this one thing.
I've always written. I'm autistic. Communication and people I didn't get a grip on how to communicate with people in a normal fashion. Couldn't look them in the eye even until I was 14. I wrote, and I won a writing competition when I was 9, and poetry competition, and I was told, you'll be an author. It was sort of just seemed all I could do. I did study gemology as well, because I'm fascinated by the family jewels. The Irish really believe that time, the present, the past and the future, all are part of one river. The ancients believed that animals are sentient beings, but so are handcrafted objects have a sentience, as well as being imbued with the lives of all who've touched and loved them. So I've got my chandelier, and you can see the wall of all the paintings, walls of books as well. All these ball gowns, which ball gowns take up a lot of room. Yeah. They're all ancestral. Like this that I'm wearing is from the 1700s. It depends what the event is. If it's something really grand, then I'll wear a family tiara this is pearls and garnets, and maybe there's a few diamonds as well. And I've got a ruby and diamond one, a French Empire one. I've got some really grand ones. So if I'm going to something really grand, I'll always wear family jewels. And if I'm going to something larky in a club, I'll wear the Velvet Eccentric Black Angel or something that Stella made me. I've even got bed tiaras. This is one of my bed tiaras. It really brightens up my day.
Absolutely.
When I have a bit of colour or a bit of something extraordinary. It makes me feel alive when I see someone beautifully dressed who's really on point in whatever it is. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and I just love that. Let's really get dressed up. Let's push the boat out and go to another era. Let's create a memory. An unforgettable night. Nobody would have said, but overdressed are you? Could never be overdressed. Not making an effort was considered that you were just a bore. If we can't notice you, why would we want to know you?
There's lots of different themes going on in this house. Certainly the objects are important, that's why they're here. It's changed for me over the years. I mean, at the beginning, it was really a stimulus for me to, I would draw the objects. That's why I started collecting things in the earlier days, years and years ago, objects to draw as, in still life. But then it sort of shifted on from there to wanting to make something out of the objects themselves. Most of the objects are from other countries. I think I said there's very little from England, really. During normal times, when we used to open the house upstairs as well, lots of objects from India and stuff up here that I brought back when we've been away. And, when I look at them, they just bring back, very strongly the day when I bought them, the weather, the people that I was with, from places that mean a lot to me. So I like to just work in lots of different ways and keep on reinventing myself. It's all about mental stimulation. If I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself too much, I stop. It's about my response to everything, the environment, to getting older, all sorts of things. So yeah, it's a way of learning about myself, really. Work is a vehicle for my growth as a human being. I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I am someone who likes the feeling of having these things around me. I obviously don't do minimal, and I think minimal's an easy way out. You don't have to make a decision about anything. White and empty spaces. I suppose if I'm drawn to an object and I can afford to buy it, I want to bring it home. I want to look at it and be inspired by it. It's nearly always I buy something to do with work, to do with my artwork and who I am as a creative person. I don't just buy things for the sake of it. I buy them because I can do something with them in some way. They speak to me. They want to come home. So that's what they do. They come home. I mean, I know there's thousands of objects in this house, but actually, I'm very discerning as to what I want. I reject an awful lot of stuff. Yeah. It's a particular sort of thing that I'm interested in, really. Usually rough and ready, sort of loosely painted, quite naive. I don't do slick. I don't do straight lines. I'm not interested in accuracy in that way. Rough marks, rough textures, naive finishes, rough painting. This whole process of what I'm doing is going back to child, is wanting to get rid of all of the education that I was taught when I went to uni for nearly 8 years. But I've spent 30 odd years trying to forget it all, trying to be instinctive and not know why I'm doing things sometimes. And if it's for you, then it's honest and true. So all the work I make, it's for my own amusement. It just so happens that it seems to sell as well, which is great.
This is an added bonus.
Yes, it is.
I'm currently a vintage seller. What is it that I collect? A lot of it I don't even know how to name. There's things I've had since I'm little. My whole house is pretty much decorated in vintage stuff. I have these really cool earrings that I got a ton of these 80s. They're so new wave 80s. Yeah. I have always done it. I don't really know why. I know that the first thing I remember collecting was miniatures. I had a dollhouse, and I just loved all the little things to go in them, but especially the little bar soap and the little those kind of things. And I played with Barbies for way longer than most girls play with Barbies. I was in high school still playing with Barbies, and I loved all the little things. And I still have some of my I have my Barbie TV. I think I collect a lot of things that remind me of my childhood. I know I do. Things that remind me of my childhood. So weird. I like old things because they're better made. The quality is so much better. They already exist. It's not contributing another thing that we don't need on this planet. I try to live my life with the concern about the earth being in the forefront, and there's not any reason to be making new things at this point because there's so much pre-existing stuff. So this is my bulletin board above my desk. We've started collecting plants since we've moved here. These are my chalkware, vintage chalkware. Those were prizes given at carnivals in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. And I definitely have a thing for old signs. This is something that I made with, I collect bottle caps. That is an old sign that I got off of eBay that I just can't even believe I found them. Those are my salt and pepper shakers. But definitely would not consider myself a minimalist, that's for sure. I love color and I love being surrounded by color. It kind of all makes sense to me, you know, all these little tiny things.
And I'm kind of working as an art director / set designer for commercials, but also working as like a freelance creative, illustration, photography, graphic design. When I go on trips, I kind of collect without knowing, again, like receipts or like train tickets. I'll try and get business cards from all the restaurants I go to. Just things that inspire me in everyday life, such as a tube map or a piece of packaging that I like the design of and that, you know, might influence or impact my graphic design work. I collect all these things without realising, and then before I know it, it is a collection. And when I think about why I do it just because I enjoy the act of collecting these things that I appreciate the design of. But I think as well it's because when I'm gone, this will help inform, you know, my children or my grandchildren or future generations about who I was. As humans, we have a desire perhaps to like live on beyond our existence here. That maybe has something to do with why we do it. The idea of minimalism to me as well is that it's not about not having many things or objects in your life. It's about everything that you do have gives value to your life and to you. I might have a bookshelf with hundreds of books on it, and you might say, oh, you're not a minimalist then. But actually, if every single one of those books is I value, then that is minimalism. Because when you look around my room, it's like full of things, and so it seems like, oh, she's definitely not minimalist. I actually kind of do consider myself a minimalist. I was at a design residency in Chicago, and they were basically like, come up with a project and we'll do it together. I was kind of interested in looking at how objects in your life kind of say a lot about you. I don't think we have it in England really, but you know, estate sales, when someone dies, in America it's very common for the family to like open up the home to the public, and they can come and like buy objects and declutter the house. And so we went to this lady's house. We had $100 with us. We ended up buying 10 objects, and the idea was to kind of ask people or writers, poets, to tell a story about who they thought the person was based on the object. Try and paint a picture of, you know, just imagine who this person might have been. Once someone dies or leaves, what's left that kind of represents them is the objects that they own, you know, the clothes that they wore. It can say a lot about someone's personality, a little window and insight into someone's life.
I've just always loved going to charity shops and car boots and jumble sales and finding bargains, trying to find stuff that was unique. My nan used to take me around. She used to go to charity shops like every day, and everyone knew her name in them, and I used to go around with her. So I think I probably got it from her. Well, it's almost but it is addictive. I just get like a buzz from going on the hunt for stuff. It is almost like a drug. I know that's the case with a lot of vintage traders, and that can go on like through their whole lives, that they still don't get fed up with like going on the hunt. I just like that you can kind of rescue things from being thrown away. You can give them a new life, and you can send them on to new lives, which is what I like the idea of. I buy lots of homeware kind of stuff from my boat, like quite bohemian crystals and like wicker stuff. It is like a kind of art in a way. It's like your artistic expression. People always say that my boat is really a reflection of me. There's quite a lot going on. I'm definitely not a minimalist. Tried to keep it tidy, but there is probably not like one area of wall that hasn't got something hanging on it, or like I've definitely maximalised the use of the space. It's quite eclectic, quite bohemian, bright colours and stuff from my travels, Mexican things, Indian things, hippie stuff like crystals, and I have a little like altar which I try to change up all the time. I'm both very decorative, I'd say. Like I think I definitely prioritise that over doing the practical maintenance of the home. Yeah, everything around me does mean something, and I can just sit here and look at everything, and it will be attached to a specific person or memory of my life. I've got my dad's little blue, he's a very moth-eaten blue bunny from his childhood. He's very special to me. I've got like a giant metal key with 21 on it that my granddad made in advance for me. He died when I was maybe 7 or 8, and he made me a giant key for my 21st birthday, and my dad kept it. My friend, he made me like a magical wand. I lived in this house over the summer with him and some other friends for the Rainbow Residence. There was a pear tree in the garden, and he carved me a beautiful like wand with all crystals and feathers on it that we collected together. Our homes have become very important, haven't they? Because we've been spending so much time in them. They're just sort of around as a constant reminder of what makes me excited in life.